Welcome back, everybody, to Santa Fe Fashion Week, Fashion Behind the Curtain podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Cuomo, executive producer of Santa Fe Fashion Week. I'm really excited to have Amory on the line. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't have any big titles yet or epic stories. I'm in the middle of building those stories. I'm an 18-year-old entrepreneur. I'm on a mission of turning harmful fashion into a force for good by planting a tree for every product sold. So I'm in the trenches right now.
That's a noble enterprise. So where are you based out of?
Yeah, I'm currently the south of France, but I want to go into Australia or some other place that supports a bit more sustainability.
Cool. So I mean, you're a young man. So tell me about your journey into why you find it so fascinating, why you want to kind of take this project on.
Well, yeah, I would love to. Can I share a small story? I think this would kind of illustrate where I come from.
Yes, please do.
So I was walking in nature and I saw that there was a bee that was pollinating a flower. Okay, uh, you'll understand in a second.
Mhm.
And I saw that there was this kind of equal exchange in between the bee and the flower. The bee was pollinating the flower in exchange of honey. I thought, and humans used to play into these natural laws of exchange, taking and giving back, but they have stopped. And we can already see the consequences of our planet's seeing that we are not respecting these laws. So I want to change that around and turn industries like fast fashion or fashion into a force for good by planting a tree for every product sold. Now, obviously, that has numerous effects like absorbing the carbon or even purifying the air we're breathing. But even more than that, it's creating jobs in local areas that need economic development. It's increasing the average order values for the fashion brands. They like it, both benefits. So this kind of equal exchange. But that's only half of it, I would say. The other half was empowering people. So you and me, Steve, we have more power than we believe. Okay, through these podcasts, through these episodes, we can change the world. Actually, I believe we can move stuff around, and by planting a tree for every product sold, and you and me choosing those brands, we empower ourselves to choose the future we want to live in. Does that does that
Right.
reply to your question a bit?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, during this journey of building this company up, have you had conversation with designers? And if so, what has that been like?
Yeah, so I've been talking with some baby fashion brands, especially on LinkedIn, etc. So this is where I think our two different podcasts are a bit different. I help fashion brands grow sustainably, and you speak to fashion designers directly, but still in the similar industry, I think so. Yeah, I spoke to some fashion brands, and they thought that it's a great idea, etc. But I started pitching my idea without even having the plugin. So I kind of reprioritized stuff, create the Shopify plugin, the e-commerce plugin, and then go back to speaking to those brands.
So what does that, what does that look like? So let's say the designer has a store on Shopify, I'm guessing, right?
Mhm.
And then they have this plugin, and so you have that kind of back of the website thing going on, right? So I'm a consumer. I go to this website. It's a Shopify website. I buy a hoodie, a sweater, and then what happens after that?
All right. You buy a sweater on the website that integrated our plugin, our technology. That means that there will automatically be a tree planted through, trusted, reputable NGOs, and uh, you will get, so the buyer who bought the clothes that installed our plugin will also get a digital certificate, a kind of proof of impact that your purchase mattered, saying where the trees have been planted, with who the trees have been planted. These are the benefits you contributed to.
No, that sounds interesting. So let's say, what would you guesstimate, or I don't know, maybe you know the answer to that. What would it cost to plant a tree?
This is this is where I'm amazed when brands say that sustainability costs too much, because planting a tree can go down to very low rates. Obviously, different NGOs have different survival rates of the trees. Some you pay a lot, but you're 100% sure the tree will survive and grow healthy because it's nurtured, etc., taken care of. Other ones, you still have a pretty high survival rate because it's demanded, but the tree will only cost maybe 35 cents. So that's in euros. I'm not sure what that would be in your currencies.
It's
but
pretty inexpensive.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that's pretty inexpensive. I was thinking the phrase would be more like, but with that said, it'd be more like with the purchase of this item, the hoodie, let's say, a percentage would go towards buying a tree. So not necessarily like, does that make sense? So not necessarily I'm going to buy a hoodie and you're going to buy a tree, but some of the proceeds would go towards buying a hoodie. So if somebody buys a bunch of clothing, buy a lot more trees or whatnot. So, I mean, that might be one way to structure it.
Yeah. And I thought about that as well. And it's a pretty great idea. A lot of brands already do that. Instead of planting a tree for every product sold, they do that this product contributes 25 cents or 10 cents to planting a tree. And once that amount is collected, they will plant a tree. And that is not a bad idea. That's already a good step towards sustainability in fashion, but it's still limiting in two areas. One, the sustainability itself, and also the marketing behind it. Because let's say you're a baby fashion, or you're a parent who wants to buy a baby clothes, and you are navigating a website and you see that this product plants a tree that will grow alongside your child. That's more powerful. You feel like, wow, this is a good product. Wow, this is empowering. This actually makes a better world. Where if you go into calculations like a certain amount goes to trees, which is already a good initiative, it's much less close to home, I would say, and actually makes less of a bigger impact than a tree per product sold.
That makes sense. So, would there be, I wonder if there's like almost like a website, like let's say your company's website, and then it would say all these companies subscribe to what you're doing. Do you see it that way? So it's almost like, oh, I can visit your website and see which designers are doing that, as well as the designer's website doing the same thing.
Just to clarify, you mean that we create a website where people can come on and see which brands we're working with?
Yeah, you could almost like, so you have, let's say, just keep it simple. You have a website, there's 10 designers, let's say, to start, right? They all are working alongside you to do this initiative. And then, they click on, so they say, oh, right, this baby brand or whatever, does this, they click on it, boom, and then it redirects them to this website that they're doing business with you.
Hey, I love this idea. I will actually implement this one. I haven't thought about it, but definitely once, this reputation continues to grow, that we build the actual plugin, etc., then definitely we'll implement that. Yeah,
I think it's a great idea. This way people can, and then you could tell and I think on your website, you could tell the success stories, right? So they go to your website, maybe have a blog post. These are the things we're doing. And I think it's almost like the founder's story. So you can also do like videos about that. Like, these are the struggles. These are the issues we might be having finding NGOs. And these are some of the things we're doing. And so on this website and on your TikTok videos, whatever, you could keep telling this story. And then you could add to that platform, oh, we just landed this designer, and so, and then maybe have them as a guest on your podcast. It's like, oh, we're so excited to have you on board. And it's just, so I did this podcast yesterday with this woman, her and her business partner, and they make women's bras and panties, if you will. And what I thought was really brilliant is they started with the community first. So they built a community of, let's say, 2,000 women, right? Built a community first. And they really listened to like the challenges women are having when buying bras. Okay. And then, so they listened, they mocked up some bras, if you will. And then they make these bras overseas. They get their samples. They would send it out to their community, get immediate feedback, if you will. But they built the community out, and kind of similar thing. They told their stories, and now they have kind of a ready-made, loyal community that will buy their stuff ideally, and then help grow the brand that way. So I think this could also apply to what you're doing. Do both, build your community out as well, tell your story. And then I think people also, I use TikTok as an example, but they're watching your story and like, oh my God, I really want to reach out and maybe even help you, financially, or be an investor. So it's just a thought.
Yeah. I love that thought because it's something I'm actually doing. I'm journaling on my way, seeing, showing, the lessons I'm learning, how it's going, trying to understand better the problems, etc. Because especially in content creation, I feel like with AI taking over a lot of content creation, I don't know if you heard about this, the black iceberg of the dead internet theory or something like that. That most of it is AI. But when we talk authentically, when we are actually ourselves, that's when we stand out, because AI will it's only just logical database, but us, we are humans. We have our stories. You have your story. I have my story. And that's what people resonate with. And that's what people want to support. They don't want to buy the product. They want to buy the person, not buy the person behind, but buy the kind of feeling and the values behind a certain mission or a certain product. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I've been following this woman on TikTok. She's starting like a venture capital fund, but she's doing the same thing. I mean, she posts like 18 videos a day. I mean, it's unbelievable, but she's answering different questions. But I could see like your business. Yeah, it's a lot of videos, but she'll get like a question and she'll put it like above her head and stuff like that. But again, like some days you may have some more things to share. I don't want to say challenge, some more things to share than other days. And then also as people are, it's pretty cool what she's doing. So as people respond and they're saying, oh, how they, whatever the question may be. I know you're a busy man, but you can answer those questions in real time. And again, building that community, like you said, AI cannot replicate that. And people want real stories. And I think people want founders' stories. I've just been very fortunate having some really great guests, but I spoke to a woman she's a contributor for Vogue Italia, and she was talking about that too. It's like you look at the Met Gala and stuff like that, and some of the stuff that's getting even more views than the actual event is like the people getting ready for it, or things are going on and stuff like that. So I think the founder stories, and you're fortunate in a way because you're really just kind of getting started. Some people are already kind of along their journey and now they're documenting, which is fine. But you being an early stage founder, I think there's a lot of opportunities to build your story, build your brand.
One thing as well, like I think you have to see this as a long-term game, like 20, 30 years. It's not like you do 1 year and you have a community. Like me, and probably that's like a consistency as 18 videos per day. That's impressive. Sometimes, as you said, you'll have more to say, sometimes less, but just being consistent and continuing to create content is, I believe, key. But I see this on a 20-year time lapse. So
no, I think that's great. So what? Yeah. I guess what have been? I guess we'll start with the challenges. I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but what have been some of the challenges so far at building this thing out?
Honestly, I don't share this everywhere, but I feel that my generation is one of the most privileged in terms of technology, being able to create your own jobs. Like the worst that can happen to us today is get free housing and food. Like there's no actual big consequence of losing or failing. At the same time, there are so many freaking distractions from social media. Everything is trying to get your attention, and just keeping focused and developing this skill of being able to say no to stuff, to people, to friends, to going out to parties is probably one of the bigger challenges I have.
Okay. So are you, do you see uni or university? Are you attending school right now, or are you getting an education and building your business, or just all in on your business?
All in on my business.
That's great. No, I think that's good.
Yeah.
What better way to
learn?
learn?
A lot today, even just on internet. School it can be important, but I think it's overrated.
Well, it's funny. I always say, I'm 61 years old, and the school was a way. There was no internet, so you had to go to school, and that's how you would get your information. The teacher would pass that information on to you. So that was the only delivery service or way to get educated. And now with the internet, obviously you can get educated on your own time. And I always think it's funny when people say, oh, I'm self-educated. It's like, you're not really self-educated. You just kind of learn this thing out of the blue. You watch the video and people are teaching you online. So we're not really self-educated. We're just getting it a different way. So so again, going back to like, okay, you talk to the designer. So, they're on board. You're going to build this, you're going to plant these trees. Do you have this plugin done? Are you talking to Shopify? Where are you along that process?
Yeah, sure. Just want to get back on 1 second on your point, and then I'll answer the best. Yeah, it's true. We cannot actually self-educate. We can only choose the programming, if you know what I mean. We can choose the programming of this educational system, or we can choose the programming of a certain type of person. But it's impossible to not choose a programming. Like we will be thought, stuff, and educated and built by the people we listen to or are around. So yeah, I agree with you. And regarding the Shopify, like where I am, it's I'm gonna launch the crowdfunding soon. So that's where I am. Once I have the crowdfunding funds, I'm going to finance the plugin. Actually, it's not as no, I don't want to say don't want to say that before I actually do it, but it doesn't seem as hard as it may be to create this kind of Shopify plugin. Like it seems to be pretty open to create new applications onto it. But yeah, I'm going to see how that goes.
Oh, so Shopify has, so I don't know if you have to have a conversation with them, but they are open to having these different plugins to accomplish different things.
If I understand correctly, if you have an idea and you know how to program, and you can create a solution, a kind of application for Shopify that then e-commerce stores can download.
So let's dig a little deeper. Just as I'm listening, I'm trying to figure this out. So again, because I have a Shopify account, I sell hoodies on there. I'm kind of wondering how this plugin thing works. So let's say they go to my store. Okay, I've agreed to donate some of my money because the money's really coming from the designer, right? So I agree to donate some of the money to go buy some trees, which I think is awesome. Okay, they buy from, so I'm controlling the sale, right? I'm the retailer. They buy something from me. I say I'm going to donate some money. They buy this hoodie. I'm sending the money to you, to your company, if you will, and you're going to go do your thing. Okay. Why would you need a plugin? How does the plugin work? I guess, why would me as a retailer on Shopify need an additional plugin?
Great question. And the answer is efficiency. We can obviously say, okay, well, let's agree that this percentage per sale will go to tree planting. Once that's done, you send it to me. Then I send it to the NGO partners. Or we can automate that system that on your sales, there is a percentage deducted that goes directly to the NGO.
Let's imagine I have a website right here, right? And they go and they're buying, and they hit the shopping cart button and they go ahead and pull the trigger and they buy something. Okay. Is there a separate button on my Shopify store? Is the consumer actually donating, not necessarily the designers? How does that split going to work? Have you worked through that?
Yeah, there would not be an extra button. There would be obviously explanations with what NGO we would be working, or kind of widgets at the bottom saying this product plants a tree, so that the consumer understands and trusts it. It's in the depth of the system, I do not currently know, because I do not know how to program. I know the guys who know how to program, but I will talk with them and figure out, is it directly coming to our account, then to the NGO? Is it directly through NGO plugins, because they also have kind of APIs that will automatically plant trees, etc. Go to them. So yeah, that's the best answer I can give currently.
That's okay. So I was just thinking. So I also have an eBay store. Okay, and on eBay, I don't know if you ever shopped on eBay, but as a seller on eBay, you could say that I'm going to donate so much money to a given charity. All right, and they already have. I haven't really utilized it, to be honest with you, but it's on there. Okay, so I'm guessing that's marketed to the people on eBay. They know a certain amount of monies are going to be donated to that charity. So that might be something to research just to see how eBay's doing it, because again, they're going in there. I could automatically, as a seller, say, okay, I'm going to put 10% of these monies into this charity. So maybe that's something to look at as well. Because also I'm thinking, if I sell a hoodie again on Shopify, and then I get a return, right, because they buy it and they didn't keep it, or maybe the issue with Shopify or selling directly to consumers sometimes too is sometimes they'll buy 3 or 4 items knowing they're only going to keep one because they want to try these items on. So they buy 4, try on all 4. This one looks great, because it's not a dressing room, the dressing rooms are home. And then they'll send the other ones home, back. So now all of a sudden, if you're taking monies, if you will, or purchases, so I don't know, that might be, I don't know, have you looked at eBay, the way eBay's doing it? Were you kind of aware of that?
I didn't know about eBay itself, but I do know that brands that allow users to sell also allow people to directly donate to certain charities and of their choice. That is true. And regarding, some people buy 4 hoodies, but just to choose one and then send everything back. And you just lost the money of the trees with that? Well, not really, because you help to contribute to a better planet.
Depends on who's paying that tab, right? Agreement between the designer and you, and also kind of contract, if you will, with the consumer. Again, I'm just kind of brainstorming like maybe ways to work around that. And I think maybe, and who knows, maybe this is also something you would be able to offer through eBay as another thing that people could donate to when they make these sales. So they could do whatever, there's 10 or 12 different nonprofits they could donate to, and maybe yours would be one as well. So just some thoughts. I'm just thinking again, and I'm sure you talk to designers, when you're having conversations with designers and these questions come up, right? It's like, well, how is this gonna to play out? And you kind of have to, I think, picture the whole buying process, what is happening from the consumer end and what's happening through Shopify, what's happening through designer, what's happening with returns, and how all that is going to work out. I mean, I think the concept is brilliant. I mean, who doesn't want to save the planet and create good, do something good with your sales? And I like your analogy early on is, I mean, and I'm sure there's still small villages around the world that are still doing what you're talking about. They take and they give back to the planet, but you take the civilized world, which we're not so civilized. And we're most of us are not giving back. Let's be real, so I think the concept is great. As a listener,
the future does look bright, and I really see this as expanding in different industries, not only in fashion, but if I would let my mind just expand on all of these different areas, I would probably just lose track. So I feel like I need to stay focused on now creating the Shopify plugin for fashion brands so that they can plant a tree through the NGOs. And then once I created that, then I go into the next challenge. But I freaking love your ideas, man. You keep popping up with great ideas.
I just think it's interesting. So I go to an event, and you could even present there sometimes. It's called 1 Million Cups. It's I don't know if it's all over the world or just the United States, but we have a chapter here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Each week they have a presenter and they talk about, it's not your typical networking event. We're not there just to pass leads, but you have a presenter. They talk kind of like what you're talking about, their challenges. And then you have other business owners that could give their insights. So it's kind of nice because a lot of them are just emerging companies, and you have people that are a little more seasoned, and you give feedback, kind of like what I'm doing right now. And you say, oh, you could do that. So if that's something you'd be interested, let me know. And so always in closing, because I guess we'll wrap it up here. And if the people are listening to our podcast, is anything this community can do to maybe help you with what you're doing and what the business you're growing?
Well, I am launching the crowdfunding, and I'm reserving certain steps for people who believe in the mission so that they can buy a kind of ticket and even be part of the founders member, so founders group. If that's of interest to you and you want to be in this journey, you can probably find me on social media, and I'll drop the link soon. Not yet, but it'll be coming soon. And I want to say, subscribe to this great channel. Subscribe to Steve. He's absolutely amazing.
I appreciate that. Well, let's do a follow-up story. When you're ready to drop that, and you have some more content, I'd love to have you on as a guest. Like I said before, is ideally, you obviously documenting your own journey, but I'd love to have you back on. Reach out to us when you're along that way, and that, and we could let designers know about this plugin, and let's follow you along, and I'll do whatever I can to help support your journey. I think what you're doing is a wonderful mission.
Stephen,